Hey everybody, Marty and Chloe here. We're taking a look at the brand new Dark Souls 3 footage that just premiered. Chloe, what are we looking at right now?
So what we're looking at is an entirely new area that we haven't seen in any of the trailers yet.
Yeah.
It looks very Bloodborne.
Yeah, so that's
which
the thing.
is-
Okay, so a lot just happened, a lot to unpack.
okay.
I completely agree with the Bloodborne vibe. Just even from the environment has that look, and then even the enemies you encounter have
Yeah,
that look.
it reminds me a bit of like Hemwick Charnel Lane,
Yep,
sort of, in
totally.
Bloodborne. But even I'm also kind of getting like a Royal Wood vibe from like Dark Souls. These guys sort of look like the Ulasil, like the Scarecrow dudes.
Yeah, and they almost look like they're like messed up townsfolk, sort of like
Yeah.
at the beginning in Yharnam. But definitely your character has a distinct Souls vibe. This does
Right.
not look like a Bloodborne protagonist. This looks like a Dark Souls character. But then we see this, and it's just like, what is actually happening right now?
Anne Orlando Archer's
The Anne
on
Orlando Archer's
steroids.
absolutely on steroids. So you see this thing is happening. It takes you out. It takes the enemies out, and you're looking up. You have no idea where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Is this something that happens dynamically? Is this an actual like a scripted event, or is this something you're gonna have to worry about like throughout
Right.
a major chunk of the game?
And we've seen a bit of these sort of environmental obstacles in past Dark Souls games and also in some of the Dark Souls 3 trailers that we've seen. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
the way
absolutely.
these things affect the actual, like you can see this, whoever's playing realizes that these can kill the enemies too.
Yes, and so that's smart. It's almost like when you come across like one of a dragon, and you sort of bait enemies into him, and
Into its line of fire.
yeah, totally. And I really like that. And I also like that this is especially like with Dark Souls 2, and then even with Bloodborne, I feel like people were always worried that From Software is going to sort of start pulling punches, but it's very clear with this that that's not happening.
Right.
That,
It's just as brutal as ever before.
just as brutal as ever before. And also, you notice in this, despite the fact that your character is, you're a knight, you're in armor, you are very agile, not quite to the Bloodborne level,
Yeah.
but it is faster than
We'll
a
get to
traditional
that in
Souls
a
game.
little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely see this roll spamming here.
Yeah.
There's even a part where you roll into an enemy, I think,
Stuns
and
him a
it
little bit.
stuns them a little bit.
Yeah. You see here, like you mentioned, the sort of scarecrow-esque enemies with pitchforks. Most of the stuff we see here at the beginning is humanoid. Get a look here.
Got
That
that
healing's
Estus
be done.
flask.
Yeah,
Yes.
traditional Estus flask. And the lighting kind of reminds me of the importance that From put on with sort of dynamic lighting in their new DirectX.
It looks
with,
really great.
Yeah, with Dark Souls 2. Yeah, absolutely. This reminds me, looks like a better version of that sort of revealed Dark Souls 2 footage we looked, which the game wasn't quite up to that snuff when it came out, but this looks absolutely amazing.
I also really love this crooked house thing. Like we saw a
yeah.
lot of that in Bloodborne.
Yeah.
It's just so, it just looks so creepy.
It looks so creepy. And it looks like a place that's been just like messed up.
Sunken into the ground.
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit like.
It-
I keep bringing up Lucille, but I don't know. It's
No, totally. And it seems like, even when you get inside this place, like it's still getting bombarded and you still hear like the noise from outside. So
Yeah.
it almost seems like a place that's gone through war.
yeah.
And then obviously you saw the second half of the footage takes place in a very different looking environment that looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the look of the flowers on the
Yeah.
ground.
There's a lot of this in from games. I've noticed like big fields of flowers, and we'll actually see
Totally.
in a second. Let's not spoil it yet.
Yeah,
but just keep
we
going.
won't spoil it, but you see here you're coming upon, again, another thing that feels very Bloodborne-y is this group of people who are praying to some sort
Yeah,
of altar.
they're praying to this big tree here.
Yeah, this big tree on the left, which you imagine was just going to be a static object because, you rough up the villagers and they want to fight you. And I like it has this creepy magical feel where all the leaves are floating upwards. You're
Yeah,
like, why
the
is this
flowers
happening?
do this weird rippling thing that you'll see a bit more later too.
Yeah. I'm also trying to figure out like if this blue or this green light on the right hand side is just sort of an environmental effect, what that really is, or if that's
Yeah.
just, something cute to
Oh,
show.
just a little floating thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you want to talk? This is a sword that Souls fans have seen before.
Ooh, yes, this is the Murakamo.
The Murakamo,
Mur-
but look
yeah.
at this combo.
Mirakumo, sorry.
Look at this for a second, I thought that was the bear
Oh, is
from
this
Danganronpa.
so? This is the weapon arts.
Yes.
It's so good. The three.
Oh my
swing
God,
spin.
that's
It's so
so
beautiful,
good.
and
Yeah.
you get a really great look at it too after the player here uses the charcoal pine resin.
Yeah. And it's really oh
and
God.
then-
Yeah. So then this is the moment where this scene becomes very, very different.
Very lewd.
Yes, very lewd. This is, if you've played the 3 Souls games and Bloodborne,
The two Souls games.
Well, I guess
Demon
yeah,
Souls. Oh, I'm an idiot.
that the enemies, there have been some messed up bosses, but this might take the cake. And I love the feeling of, you enter this area and there is a mob of standard enemies, and you don't think you're going to have to fight a boss. If this is a boss,
It's It definitely looks like a boss, and this is one thing I'm really excited about for Dark Souls 3 is they're taking that, they did this in Bloodborne, right, where there's no fog gate.
Yes.
And so you can just walk into a room and have no idea what's going to happen, and then this,
totally.
the Beta Chaos is like, after he's had a couple
oh
shots,
my god,
I
totally.
guess.
Yes, Beta Chaos is exactly what this reminds me of. And it is, I mean, you can tell, like you said, it is a boss because the music swells up, and you're like, okay, this is a boss fight. You're just not seeing it because they don't have the HUD on.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of having to fight a boss along with a slew of, standard minor enemies.
Yeah, we've seen kind of those mob, I don't know what you would call them, mob bosses.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
really.
totally.
Like with Gravelord Nito, Dark Souls 2 had a ton of those.
Yeah, and even in Dark Souls 2, like the Rat King boss, which is just like
I hated that
mess
thing.
ton of rats. But yeah, you take a look at this thing, and you're just like, this is one of the ugliest, most terrifying things they've ever created.
It's a little inappropriate.
It's a little inappropriate. It gets even more inappropriate very soon. It is seemingly a pregnant tree that is just...
Oh, here it is, here it is.
Oh, that's
yes,
so cool.
I love that.
Oh my god.
God, I really like that they've changed up the moveset for a familiar weapon too, right?
Yes,
like,
which is great for people who've like us who've played all these games, and it's yes, you're familiar with it, but at the same time they've added new layers of strategy.
Yeah, it keeps the core of everything that's great, and it just...
And I also like the, it sort of ups the ante of, the weapon arts ups the ante of, like, the risk-reward that people love so much in Souls. It's like, do I have enough time to complete this entire combo, or am I going to get messed up halfway through it?
So, but one thing we want to talk about earlier is how fast you're rolling.
Yes, right?
So you're using, right here this character is using, like, I think the heaviest curved greatsword in the Souls game.
Yeah.
And
a giant shield on the back.
Yeah, they got a shield, they have just kind of a standard knight set, and they're doing a fast roll. Like, what's with that?
So I'm really interested to see if, I think maybe I'd be, oh god, okay, we have a lot to talk about there, but I feel like they,
go back a little bit,
they
maybe.
took the, I think they took player feedback from Bloodborne, and Bloodborne is a game that really has resonated with a lot of people who, yes, were Souls fans, but also people like Brian Altano who didn't really play the Souls games until Bloodborne and fell in love with it. So I think they took sort of the speed and the anger.
The speed and the way that the kind of the rally system encourages you to fight aggressively, and also just the amount of blood in that game. Like Bloodborne encouraged you to fight a lot.
Yes, it encouraged
and fast. So that was
whereas
fine,
the Souls games may have relied on like the old slow sword and board sort of technique.
I want that though. I want that. I want to know how equip load works in this game.
Yeah.
We haven't heard much about that. I kind of had just assumed that they sort of got rid of it for just the sake of demos to simplify things for now. But I'm starting to think that no, maybe this is
just a much faster game, and maybe this is something that's sort of more like Bloodborne.
I really want that slower pace for Dark Souls, so we'll see where that goes. But
this
still looks amazing. And
then
here we have
the thing giving birth to whatever the hell that is. Jesus Christ. So there's eggs inside of it. And then you see a cool moment right here. This reminds me a lot of the Asylum Demon fight where it kind of comes crashing through.
Oh, the second time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk into where you fight the Asylum Demon, and then you fight the Stray Demon.
Yeah, which I totally love.
It reminds me a bit of, like I said before, the Beta Chaos.
Oh my god, yeah, totally. Where you're in one area and then you fall and you're like, oh, this is what I'm actually fighting. We're going to have a lot of questions leading up. We know the game is coming out in April. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more hands-on time up to that. We're going to see if this is just a single character build or if this is sort of what the speed of Dark Souls 3 really actually is.
Right.
Thank you very much, Chloe. That is your look at Dark Souls 3. For so much more on Dark Souls, on Bloodborne, and for everything from software, you're already in the right place. IGN.com.